morning. Yes, I'm having a blessed morning. So today's Juma Friday, and today is the Eid day. So I want to send a big shout out to all of the Muslims that fast during the month of Ramadan, completed their month of Ramadan. And I'd like to give you a big shout out. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. May the Alpha Omega, the Creator and everything existing, keep continue on blessing us and protecting us and unraveling secrets and everything else that we need upon our life to keep this thing going. So I want to give a big shout out. Yes. So what is this topic? What is this topic, brothers and sisters, kings and queens, ladies and gentlemen, prince and princess, all around the world? What is this topic is talking about? This topic, right? I talked about this topic before, but it seems like I have to revisit this topic, not because of what's going on these major platforms and stuff like that. And I feel that we always have to revisit these topics because these topics is really, really important. Now, we have to understand that there is a lane on YouTube for everybody. There's a lane, right? Everyone may be good at celebrity gossip. That's something that they may have get into, celebrity gossip, telling stories, mixing it in with the experience of celebrity gossip. There's another portion of lane where that guys are talking about spirituality. They mixing in spirituality and they talking about the everyday activities that goes on in our societies, in our community, right? Then there's another, section that deals with these wild meat pens in these jails and concentration camps, right? So we need all of these topics. We need all of these topics because the reason why we need all these concentration pens for people to talk about it, because God let the youth know the way that we did things ignorantly, out of ignorance in our own community, which led us in cuffs of states in a federal prison. End up this way, this is going to happen to you, right? We tell the stories of cut-ins. We tell the stories of gang activity, and and a lot of these things that we talk about, it's about towards each other, right? It's about towards each other, banging on each other, hurting each other, sending each other to the afterlife and everything else, right? So we need these stories and we need people that been through this for that lane to talk about this so that the future and youth can look and see not to go that way. There's nothing wrong with telling these stories, right? But it's something wrong if after you explain these stories, you tell the children that this is not the way to go, that this life is not the way to go. Because what's going to happen is that the feds is watching you, the DA is watching you, you're going to end up in these wild meat pens, you're going to end up in concentration camp, right? These wild meat pens, these jails and everything else in these prisons, and nobody's not going to be there for you, right? So there's a method to the madness of telling these stories, because it leads to one thing. Now, the way that they doing these wild meat pens in these jails, if you enter and do a crime, right, and you do a crime and you get convicted of a crime and you be sent upstate, you being sent up in the federal prison, every year they get around 80 to 100 grand off you. So If you do 5 years, 10 years, every year they get anywhere from 80 to 100 grand to house you in there. You understand what I'm saying? So why would you want to become a bag or be somebody else's bag and pay somebody else property off, or somebody else boat off, or somebody else tuition off, or somebody else college degrees and everything else off, where that you in society could become your own bag? You understand what I'm saying? So I want you to understand this. So we need these stories there, and we need a lane for that. We need a lane. It's not so much you glorifying violence, you glorifying banging on each other, because it's self-genocide on each other, able descendants. You understand what I'm saying? And I don't want to get into the start of it, and I don't want to get into that. I'm not going to get into them. I'm getting into the fact that we do need a lane that talks about this, right? And not glorify it. The way we talk about it, we should not be glorifying the ignorance and shooting and killing and stabbing and cutting each other up. You understand what I'm saying? So, we do need a lane for this on these major platforms. We do need a lane. That's sort of like this administration right now, right? This administration right now is taking all our artifacts, taking all our history, throwing it away, and trying to erase our history, trying to erase the oppression and depression and the murder and the kill and the burning of our ancestors throughout our land in America. Yes, that we call America. You understand what I'm saying? Like, they trying to erase like this never happened. But it did happen. Right? And this is why all of these things are going on these major platforms, is to get away from what happened to us in the past and sending people to the afterlife. You understand what I'm saying? We want to do away with that. We can't do away with that. That's the same thing, the same likeness that we cannot do away with these prison stories and talking about our experience in there. You got to paint a picture like this place is the worst of the place to deter, right, the youth in the future from going to these places. And to do what? Build their own brand, build their own institution, be their own bags, be independent. Not saying they're not doing that now, but you have to paint a picture of like this place is nasty and disgusting. If you glorifying it and you're saying that it's cool and it went through a breeze in there, they're going to want to try it. They're not going to care about doing crime and sending each other to the afterlife, murder, death, killing each other. They're not going to care. They're going to be like, you know what? I want to try prison and get felonies and get misdemeanors and everything else, right? Which ultimately, it blocks you from elevating yourself. You understand what I'm saying? So we need that, and we need people that been through that to talk about it, but not glorify it. It's a difference of glorifying it than talking about it and explaining it to the children, because the children is coming up, the youth is coming up. So we don't want to keep perpetuating this demon and demonic, even twisted way of life against the persona life, which took many of us down a dark, dark path of destruction and in jail for the rest of our lives. So we do need a lane for that. We need a lane, actually, someone to, teach us how to work out, to teach us how to cook, what foods to eat, what foods not to eat, So there's a lane for everything. There's a lane on everything on these major platforms. And the reason why we visited, because these are the things that we need to talk about. We need to revisit these topics often, because this teaches the future of the generation. Become your own bag. Because when you are in there, you're losing. You're not winning or winning anything. You becoming somebody else's bag. Not saying that you're not smart enough to control things and make money while you are incarcerated or in jail in these wild meat pens, but you really can't do nothing because you are locked up physically. Yes, you can move things mentally and everything else, but if you're doing that, then now they put you in solitude so that you can do this. Stop, you know what I mean? Stop your phone call. Stop everything else. So I want you to remember that. There's nothing wrong with talking about these stories, but don't glorify it. I recommend don't glorify it.
Bluetooth connected.
You know? I recommend not to glorify this life that took many of us down a dark path of living this life of jail, selling drugs and everything else, destroying our community, because that's all we see. And this is all what is presented to us to do this. Not knowing that this is the wrong way of life to be embarking on. You understand? So I want us to know that as a civilization, as able civilization, that we do need to talk about these prison stories, but don't glorify it. After that, when you talk about this, all you got to do is say, I'm telling you right now, from my experience, don't go in there. Go to school, get yourself a career job, start now at this age, and just keep pounding this in us, because these are generational curses upon our community. These are community and civilization curses, okay? And then individually is upon us also. So we got so many curses that we must uplift as a people, as a civilization, and we are able civilizations. We are able civilization, and we need this. We need this. We need these platforms, not just because of money. I'm doing this for money. I'm doing this for this and that. You doing it because you genuinely care about where your child and where our friends and family end up if we do not know what's going on and if we fall into the traps. So, you know, I recommend that, you know, on my platform that we talk about this thing, about the decisions that we make. You could end up in jail. You could end up in jail in these wild meat pens for a very, very long time if you let your emotions and everything else supersede your intelligence. So it's much needed here. It's much needed. It is. It's much needed. But don't glorify it like it's a badge of honor to be going in there, right? 3 hots in the cots, and you becoming somebody else back 80 to 100 grand to house you in there forever. How many years you going to be in there? 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, 25 years, right? While you are on the street, you can do your own bag. You understand? I need each and every one of us able descendants to be out here in society. To be out here. It's quiet. It's quiet because you know why it's quiet? Because they gave you the tools and everything else, the substance and everything else to murder, death, kill you, to knock you off, and then lock you up and give you centuries, but that you cannot be out here with your loved ones and everything else. While you end up in these wild meat pens, these are big traps. You know, these are big traps. So I can be here because while a lot of guys was active in these streets, right, and doing these things, being pharmaceutical reps and everything else, I was working. While individuals building a case against them, building rap sheets up against them, building rap sheets, right, by the feds and the DA and everything else that was watching them, I was building my resume up to be the example right here to show you that you can overcome a lot of obstacles in your life if you just embark on it. I'm the example right here. That's right. When it comes to organization, when it comes to being a tactician, when it comes to being interpreter for spirituality, I got us. I'm leading the force over here. I'm leading the force in New York City. Anything that deals with spirituality, with knowledge of self, and knowing that self, defining your square, defining your circle, you got to come to me. You got to come to me. Especially if it's out on these major platforms, right? And if I see something that's wrong, I'm going to correct it spiritually. Spiritually. That is my duty. This is my task. So, we need this talk because we can't keep falling in these pitfalls. We got to deter our children away from this life of crime by doing what? By building institutions. And building institutions, not just physically institutions, that we do need physical institutions. But I'm talking about mentally institutions in our mind, growth and development. It starts there. It starts with knowledge first. It has to start with knowledge first. And knowledge is essential in our civilization. Yes, it is. Yes, it is, And I want to thank you so much. I'm not going to make this a drawn out conversation, But all I'm saying that we do need this, we need this talk. And we need it constant to remind the youth and to mind our future. I call them our future. But I have to use these words so people don't understand our future. Deter them from committing crimes and everything else. So it's much needed. But you have to, after you tell these stories, you have to say, you don't have to say anything. I suggest that you say, this is not the way to go. Peace. How you doing? Peace. This is not the way to go, brothers and sisters, kings and queens, ladies and gentlemen, prince and princess all around the world, because this life will lead you to becoming an organ donor, fertilizer for the street, you understand, for the earth, right? And these rob me pens and jails and being on drugs and just can't get right. You understand? And this is not what our civilization, able descendants are. We get right. We get right. If we just eliminate these demons and devils and sick demonic way of life and this gates of persona life that was given to us procreators so that we can do that, so we can send each other to the afterlife. We just rid it from us, So it's much needed in our community. And I feel that we should not throw away anybody that's talking about these why me pins in jail story. You telling it from your point of view. You can say that, I was real in it, I was holding it down, I was doing this or doing that. But the reality to the fact, you saying what your mind was doing at that time of survival. Now you realize that that wasn't the way to go, that I was doing genocide upon myself and upon my community and upon my family, my civilization, and as able the civilization, peace and blessings be upon able. So these are the things that we need to address as leaders and as influencers and as YouTubers on these major platforms. So I'm just suggesting that as just a shout out. I'm not here to cause no problems or anything like that, because I'm very holy, I'm spiritual, and I'm a righteous man. I left that stuff a long time ago, years ago. I left that, and I don't really name drop like that. And I know people know me. I don't name drop. And the reason why I don't name drop, because that's not what we do here. We know who we know, and they know who they know. You never know. So, these things will come back. It will come back. And we just know it. You never know who people know. And, I'm outside. I'm outside. I'm active. I'm always moving around. But I'm always doing something productive and positive. So, my objective is to build an institution for us. That's what I really want. That's what I want. For someone that got sexually assaulted and molested and raped and everything else, I'm barking on that too. I'm not going to disclose that, but people know, they know, So, that lane is much needed to talk about prison and jail and everything else. If you're going to talk about that, you got to talk about the reform. You got to talk about the new bills. Like, you got to explain all of that too. These things need to be explained, not just being a gangster and being a stand-up guy and everything else and stuff like that. That's cool. But it's not needed because it's sending us to the afterlife. and it's sending each other to the afterlife of saying that we stand up guys, we gangsters and hoodlums and shooters and YNs and all of these other titles that was placed upon us, right? Which was procreated for us to do the sick, barbaric, devil, demon acts upon us. We are the Alpha Omega, and the Alpha Omega is us, but with limitations. The conscious community, right? The righteous community, the Muslim community, and the 5% nation, the poor righteous teachers, you know, the 5% brothers and sisters, kings and queens, ladies and gentlemen, prince and princess, God and goddesses, all around the world. This is the correct understanding and teaching that I know that you can agree with and I can agree with. You know, to live this sick, barbaric, devil, demon, evil life, this is what he do. He does this, you know, and he know everything so we can kill and murder each other. This is an actual true fact, you know, and you know, and spiritually, I'm on the job. I'm not the only one. After this, I'm gonna do another video. We on you. We on your heels. We not gonna let up. I'm not gonna let up. That's right. I'm a force to be reckoned with, and you know me, entity. You know me. You know what I did. You know, you don't play with me. You know that. I've been in the spiritual realm for over 30 years. I've been here. You know, I've been in the spiritual realm. I'm considered an elder in the spiritual realm because I've been through a lot of stuff in that realm and fought some demon in that realm and outside of that realm, you know. So, you know, these are the things that we need to talk about and address to mix it in with spirituality and mix it in with these stories of going through these choices that we made when we was young. You know, this stuff could have cost us our lives, man. We could have been dead and gone. But we are here for a certain reason. And you need to take your shot and run with it. Take your shot and run with it. If you did bad, you did bad. If you did bad, you did bad, you know? And some prophets and messages did bad. Some prophets and messages did bad. One of the prophets did bad was Jonah. Peace and blessing be upon him. He did bad when the Creator told him to go over there and preach to the people. The people went up against him. He's like, nah, they didn't want to. And then he ran and jumped in the belly of the whale, got in the boat, and the whale came and swallowed him up. You understand? He did bad. He did bad. He has to question that. There's a lot of prophets and messengers did bad. Moses did bad. He asked the Creator, can I see him? That's bad. He killed somebody. You understand what I'm saying? Peace is blessed be upon him. Even though he was forgiven, he still got to be questioned for that. He still got to be questioned for that. You know? In front of people. In front of the Alpha Omega. Still going to question him. He did bad. So, people do bad, man. People do bad. It's up to you what you do with your opportunities. It's up to you what you do with your opportunity. But if you are in that life, and you hardcore, you upholding this devil, to instantly, right then and there, switch over, I don't agree with that. You understand? To switch over and do what you do, that's not cool, because that evil life is evil. Now you see the devil. Now you see it. Before you didn't see it. Luckily, you didn't see it when you was dead on the other life, in the afterlife. You see it and you change your mind about it. That is not cool. You understand what I'm saying? So I don't suggest and recommend anybody living that life. So you don't have to make those decisions in life. So you don't have to make those decisions. But if you doing that in that life, you have to pay. There's people today, right now, they're not living that life. But this devil demonic is still on them because you made a contract with this thing. It's still after you. It still wants you. It don't care if you change your life around. You became Muslim. You became Christian. You became Jewish. You became holy than thou. it still wants you because you did a contract, and it wants you, and you still on the list, and it wants you dead and gone. I know that to be true. That's why I don't do that sick, barbaric, different down. I'm cut off from that. You hear me? I cut myself off from that. And it took me a while to do that. It took me a while. And I would not be here and have this platform, and my platform is growing the way it's growing if I was lying in anything else. I don't need to lie. I don't need your Cash App. I don't need your Zelles. I don't need your Apple Pay. I don't need your PayPal. I don't need none of that. The Creator blesses me. And that's enough for me. That's enough for me. It may not be enough for somebody else. They want more. But for me, I'm okay. And I take my blessings and I run with it, you know? So, but if you live in that sick, barbaric, devil, demon life, I urge you to get out of it before it's too late. Before it's too late, you know? And I don't recommend nobody to be up there doing that. But people do. You know, that's not my lane. And I'm not here to talk about that with nobody, you know? This is no shade. This is nothing towards anybody. But I'm just I did so many videos. I got like close to 1,600 videos. So, you know, I talked about this before, about this life. You understand what I'm saying? It's not like something I'm talking about now. The reason why I'm talking about because I got to revisit this to talk about the different lanes here that we as able descendants that's no longer in this street. So we come here to express, right, our regrets, our misfortunes, our experience, so that we can help the future not to make the mistake. But not just talk it, but live it. I live it, I walk it, I talk it. I don't drink, I don't smoke, I don't do those things. So I uphold it. Not saying that I'm better than you, but I accomplish a lot, you know, especially in the spiritual realm, where people counted me out. So, you know, I don't want to make this a long, drawn-out thing. I just want to say that this prison stories and this violent things is much needed to deter the youth from doing it in the future. Deter them. So they don't end up somebody bad. That's the ultimate. You end up somebody bad. I'm telling them why it ends. Right? And I love you. Stop what you're doing so you can stop what you're doing, right? So you don't become somebody else bad. Get your own bag. You got motion and movement out here. Step to your business. You know what to do. You don't have to do a life of crime. You understand? I know it's easy access. It's easy. But I'm going to tell you, take the long way. In the long run, those triple bags is going to come to you. I'm just letting you know. So, you know I love you. You know I love you. Peace, y'all.